Do you two just want to quickly start by saying your names and overview of the topics that your lab's research focus on? That wasn't a
Sure.
complete sentence, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to do that. So yeah, my name's Stephen Roberts. I'm an associate professor in the School of Aquatic and Fishery Sciences, also currently serving as the associate director and the graduate program coordinator. Most of my research in my lab revolves around looking how the environment affects marine invertebrates and studying it at the genomic level.
And my name is Mark Sherrell. I'm an associate professor in the School of Aquatic and Fishery Sciences, and I'm also the assistant unit leader for fisheries in the U.S. Geological Survey's Washington Cooperative Fish and Wildlife Research Unit, which is a really long way of saying my lab does a lot of applied ecology work, in particular on salmonids and some other at-risk species here in the Pacific Northwest and along the west coast of North America.
And my name is Amy Fox, and I'm the graduate program advisor, and I'm the first stop for prospective students if they have questions about how to navigate our admission process. I'd like to ask you both some questions. In your opinion, what is the best way for a prospective student to contact you?
I guess in my opinion, an email is a traditional way to let me know about what their interests are, and then normally I would follow up and possibly set up a meeting with them and talk to them on the phone or over a Zoom call.
Yeah, I agree with Stephen on that. My preference is an email. As much as anything, it becomes a nice record for me because I don't always remember things I should. So having that written down somewhere is nice. And I often might, depending on time and availability, might schedule a Zoom call or something with them. But I do ask for patience. And I also would suggest that students not be afraid to send a second email or a reminder. If you don't get a response the first time, you might just say, oh, just wondering.
Are there specific things you would recommend prospective students add in any email outreach to you?
I guess I'd like to see kind of a little bit about their background, but also how they see both the program, whether the school and my research program kind of fits and align with their own research interests. Some demonstration is that they are kind of aware of what we do and it's where they want to be in kind of their future career.
Yeah, the information I have on my website, for instance, asks students for some specific information with respect to their research interests and experiences and skills or abilities they might have. But I'm also interested in your career goals. I'm also interested in you just telling me a little bit more about yourself, perhaps where you came from, what you've been doing, what your kind of larger interests are in life, if you have any hobbies or interests, because we will ultimately, should you end up as a student here, we'll be spending a fair bit of time together. And so it's nice to get to know that person.
Besides faculty members, who else should prospective students reach out to, especially if they're trying to get your attention?
Well, I definitely tell anyone prospective students to reach out to graduate students, other graduates, current graduate students and past graduate students, both in my own lab and just in the department. That's kind of a great recommendation I would have for anybody applying to any graduate program is almost foremost talk to the graduate students.
Yeah, I agree with Stephen 100% on that. I think, faculty members will often tell people anything just to get, those great bright students to come into the lab, but you want to get the truth. And so asking the students is a fantastic idea. The other thing I've done, especially because I'm relatively new in this position, is offered names of students or postdocs whom I've worked with in the past on other projects, just to give people an idea of what it's like to collaborate with me and that sort of thing.
Can you give an example of one of the most successful prospective student approaches you have received?
I mean, that's a tough one. I'll be totally honest with you. I mean, I think, they approach me in any way, normally if it leads to a follow-up conversation. So I think no kind of initial one necessarily stands out in my mind.
Yeah, I think that is a hard one. I don't know, sending me a video of you doing some song and dance routine might do it, but that's not happened to me yet. I think the initial emails, letters that I've sort of kind of piqued my interest the most usually have some unique aspect to them. Perhaps the person is a non-traditional student. They might be a military veteran or something like that, or a parent, or came from a tough background, or switched stream, halfway through what they were doing, that sort of thing. So again, I think that will just come out of, if you can tell me a little bit about yourself and, try to make it personable as well as detailed.
What is the top thing you look for when receiving applications for the next application year?
Well, definitely in any given year, I don't know if funding plays a role, as you know, Amy, and we've talked about elsewhere. We would only accept, and I too would only accept students we have funding for. So in some years, I might be looking for a specific position to fit a specific research project that is funded. That is not always the case, but that is something that would certainly be of top of mind for any given cycle. Like if I know I have a project on this species and I need somebody with some kind of background on a particular technique, I might be looking for that specifically. Because with that, it would vary from year to year. Otherwise, I'm just kind of looking for top candidates that have the experience. Definitely are not able to do everything that we do in the lab, but have enough of a baseline foundational knowledge, good personality, able to communicate, good writing skills, things like that.
Yeah, I'll second that. And I also think that I look for evidence of just some perhaps more life skills, good organizational skills. Can you do some budgeting, these sort of things. And I have there's a straw person on my website, a future student who is hashtag is essentially well-rounded. And I think that's another thing that I look for in students, people who have not just strong academic interests, but they have other pursuits, things that they appreciate, a good work-life balance, so to speak.
What tips do you have for prospective students for how to reach out to faculty?
Yeah, I might, since you said to faculty, I'll open it up a little bit more and, go beyond both myself and Mark and thinking about that some of our answers are quite similar. There's another 30 faculty and faculty might be different. And so, and you're communicating with different faculty and their response back could be a little bit different, but I think some of the top things that I would recommend is that you know something about that faculty person. So you read their website, you know what they're doing, and spend the time. If they have a section about for prospective students, so I do, and I believe Mark does too, and several other faculty do, is you read that ahead of time and get in tune with that and ask questions if you have any based on that. But do your research first before you communicate with them, so you know what they're doing and know if they have any expectations already laid out on their websites for prospective students.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think also, being, it can be very intimidating. I appreciate you're approaching someone who you'd like them to work with you and help you advance your career and that sort of thing, and that's difficult. So just be honest. Be polite. Use, at first meeting, it's nice to get an email that says, "Dear Dr. So-and-so" or "Dear Professor So-and-so," rather than "Hey, you." But those are things that I think most people would typically do anyway. But sometimes the little things can put people off. It may mean just the difference as to whether I've got time to answer that email today or not. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I think a lot of it is just looking around, like Steven said, do your homework, maybe even poke around at other people, see who might be working with whom. We have some groups, we definitely have people in this school who do a lot of collaborating with one another. So you might say, oh, well, if so-and-so doesn't have an opening, maybe your colleague so-and-so does as well, that sort of thing. Think about that.
Mhm. And I see, kind of pulling back on what we've said before. I mean, it's okay if you might want to reach out to a current student first, and get a little inside information and know what's going on before. I had a student do that recently, and it helped out a lot because she was already in tune about what was going on in the lab, and we could spend our time talking about other stuff when we talk. And I think, and just to highlight what Marcus said earlier, it's okay to be persistent. I mean, within reason. I mean, we a lot of things going on. We might not get back to you right away, but if you don't hear from us in an amount of time, it's okay to email again. Dr. Roberts, Dr. Sherrill, I just wanted to follow up and see if you were able to get my first email. That's fine. Don't hesitate to do that.
I definitely would recommend to stay away from all form emails. Most faculty members and staff members can really tell a form email a mile away. Double check that you have the right name, going to the right person. And thirdly, email me if you're not hearing responses, and then really bug me. I don't make any decision about admissions at all. So if you're feeling frustrated about not getting responses, come email me and call me and send me 6 emails, and feel free to put urgent in the subject line. I'm here to help prospective students. That's what I'm here for. I'll get back to you. I do get hundreds of emails a day, so it may take me a little longer than you're hoping for. But if you put urgent in the subject line, I'll prioritize that response for sure. And again, I can't reiterate it enough that I don't make any admission decisions. So you shouldn't worry about if you're annoying or bugging me. So start there.
I will just add too, from a logistical standpoint, I do this and other faculty do it too. You don't have to know this, but we actually manage prospective students with a form. So when you email me, I'll just politely ask you to fill out this form so that I can better keep track of people who are interested, and then as a follow-up contact list. So don't be surprised if you come across that, like you'll see that on my website and others' websites. You can still email me. I'll just quickly ask you to put that information in a form, and it just helps us and other faculty kind of not lose track of emails. It's that's something else you might encounter with some of the faculty.
Did I miss anything?
Nope. I can second the advice to ask Amy. She's a great source of information.